Keeping up with our motto, let learning be a joy and teaching be a pleasure. Here we are with remote teaching and learning process to bridge the gap. Happy learning, dear students. Here, Mrs. Sonal Shah Doshi from Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College, teaching you geography today for grade 7, chapter 3.Tides, part 2. What we have done till now is how rotation of the earth causes centrifugal force to the earth, and what is the meaning of tides and how it is caused by gravity of moon and the sun. We have seen that centrifugal forces are exactly opposite to the gravitational forces. An ocean tide refers to the cyclic rise and fall of seawater. Tides are caused by slight variations in gravitational attraction between the Earth and the Moon and the Sun in relationship with the locations on the Earth's surface. The tide raising forces at the Earth's surface thus results from a combination of basic forces, that is, the force of gravitation of the Moon and the Sun upon Earth, and number 2, the centrifugal force of the Earth. The regular rise and fall of the ocean's water are known as tides. It is high tide when water covers much of the shore by rising to its highest level. It is low tide when water falls to its lowest level and recedes from the shore. Today we are going to learn types of tides in accordance with the lunar phase and the position of the moon and the sun. As we have seen, according to the height of tide, we have divided tides into high tide and low tide. Now, in accordance with the lunar phase, when full moon or new moon is there and the tide comes, that is called a spring tide. And a neap tide refers to the period of moderate tides when the sun and the moon are at right angles to each other. Let us learn in detail. What are the spring tides? They occur when the earth, the sun, and the moon are in the same line. The gravitational forces of the moon and the sun both contribute to the tides. It occurs during the full moon and the new moon days. These tides are also known as king tides. What are neap tides? During the moon's quarter phases, the sun and the moon walk at right angles, causing the bulges to cancel each other. In both the cases, the gravitational pull of the sun is added to the gravitational pull of the moon on the earth, causing the oceans to bulge a bit more than usual. So, in short, when the sun and the moon are in line with each other, they pull the ocean surface in the same direction. This causes higher high tides and lower low tides. These tides are known as spring tides. So, in the direction of the sun and the moon, there are higher high tides, and at 90-degree angle, there are low tides. Now, in nip tides, when the sun and the moon are at right angles to each other, they both try to pull in opposite directions. When this happens, there is lower high tides and higher low tides than usual. These are called nip tides. So, when the sun and the moon are in the same direction, they force the ocean water into the same direction, causing high tides, that is spring tides. And when the sun and moon are at 90-degree angles, they they are like becoming enemies of each other. They both try to pull the ocean water towards them, and there is high tide at one side and low tide at another side. So that is called a neap tide. Done with the types of tides, now we are going to do tidal ranges. What is tidal range? It is the difference in levels of ocean water at high tide and low tide. Tidal ranges vary greatly due to the combined forces of the sun and the moon on the earth, and it all depends on the position of the earth, moon, and the sun in the space. We should have knowledge of tidal ranges to predict tsunami or storm or atmospheric pressure, etc. This high range of tidal current is experienced by the regions of the Gulf of Kutch or the Gulf of Kambat and the regions of Sundarbans, where the flow of fresh water narrows near the Hooghly High. Here is your answer. The highest tidal range in India is considered between two zones, Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Kambat. Importance of tides. Importance for tides for human life are as follows. Fishing. Tides affect the other aspects of oceanic life, including the reproductive activities of fish and ocean plants. Tidal zone foods. Edible sea creatures like crabs, snails, seaweed, etc. inhabit the tidal zone. And the most important point to be remembering that without the regular washing of the tides, these complex and abundant creatures would die and food resources would diminish. Navigation. High tides help in navigation. They raise the water level close to the shores, which helps the ships to arrive at the harbor more easily. Weather. Tides stir the ocean water that makes habitable climatic condition and balance the temperatures of the planets. Tidal energy. In every 24 hours, two high tides and two low tides occur. Hence, the fast movement of water during the inflow and the outflow will provide a source of renewable energy to communities living along the coast. Here are some effects of tides. On beaches, tides can bring in sand, shells, and ocean sediments at high tide and leave them behind when the tide goes out. In estuaries, at high tide, ocean water brings in sediments and sea life that feed and nourish life. The amount of water in inlets changes with the tides. Timings of tides. As we have discussed, most seashores have four tides every day, two high tides and two low tides. A change from low tide to high tide or vice versa takes about 6 hours and 12 minutes. Because the earth rotates through two tidal bulges every lunar day, coastal areas experience two high and two low tides every 24 hours and 50 minutes. High tides occur 12 hours and 25 minutes apart. Let's check it out. How long does it take for the earth to rotate once on its axis? 24 hours. How many high tides and low tides occur each day? Two high tides and two low tides. How many hours are there between a high tide and a low tide? 6 hours and 12 minutes, precisely 6 hours. How many hours are there between two high tides? 12 hours and 26 minutes, precisely 12 hours. So today we have done with types of tides according to the phases of moon. Then we have seen tidal range, effect of tides, importance of tides for humans, and timings of tides. We are completing chapter number 3, part 2 today. We further see more about waves in part 3. Thank you.